I slapped him back. That's a direct quote from Todd Bridges' 2010 memoir, describing the moment his relationship with Gary Coleman, his TV brother on Diff'rent Strokes, completely fell apart. And honestly, that's just the appetizer for what we're about to dig into today. The family sitcoms of the 80s and 90s sold us a very specific fantasy. Sure, siblings fight, but at the end of 22 minutes, everyone hugs it out while the studio audience goes, "Aw." But behind those laugh tracks and beneath those heartwarming storylines, things got weird, dark, sometimes genuinely disturbing. Today, we're counting down 9 sibling rivalries from 80s and 90s television that took unexpectedly dark turns, some in the scripts, some behind the scenes, and a few that managed to do both. We're talking physical altercations, psychological warfare, cast members who haven't spoken in decades, and one episode that might be the darkest thing network television has ever aired. If you grew up watching these shows, buckle up, because your childhood is about to get a whole lot more complicated. And hey, if you're into deep dives on the TV shows that shaped our youth, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. We do this kind of thing all the time, and I promise the algorithm will reward you with more nostalgic content than you can handle. All right, let's get into it. Number 9, The Wonder Years, Wayne Arnold's psychological warfare. We're starting with a rivalry that was hiding in plain sight for 6 seasons. The Wonder Years ran on ABC from January 1988 to May 1993. And while everyone remembers Kevin Arnold's coming-of-age journey and his will they won't they with Winnie Cooper, there was another relationship at the heart of that show that doesn't get talked about nearly enough. Kevin and his older brother, Wayne. Here's the thing about Wayne Arnold, played by Jason Hervey. The show's own materials describe him as Kevin's abusive older brother, who enjoys physically tormenting Kevin and Paul. He constantly calls Kevin Butthead, or Scrote.
Kevin Arnold, born a butthead, lived a butthead's life.
And unlike most sitcom sibling rivalries that get played for laughs, The Wonder Years treated Wayne's bullying with genuine emotional weight. The retrospective narration from Daniel Stern acknowledged the lasting psychological impact of that constant torment. This wasn't just boys will be boys stuff. This was systematic cruelty that shaped who Kevin became. There's a season 4 episode called Separate Rooms that has an 8.4 rating on IMDb. Wayne moves into their older sister Karen's former bedroom, ending years of forced cohabitation. One reviewer noted that it quietly highlights a truth about many sibling relationships that isn't ever shown on TV. For some of us, we only grow apart as we age. Now, to the show's credit, they did reveal moments of genuine brotherhood. In The Lost Weekend, when Kevin's party spirals out of control, Wayne takes the fall for him. And in the series finale, we learn that Wayne takes over the family furniture business after their father Jack dies in 1975, and that Kevin and Wayne were 2 of their grandfather's pallbearers. As one fan put it, Wonder Years showed just how complex relationships with siblings can be. You hate each other, you love each other, and you can treat them horribly, but God forbid someone else tries something. That's weirdly dark for a show about nostalgia and first love. Number 8, Full House, The Promise, Stephanie had to break. The most wholesome show of the late 80s and early 90s, right? Yeah, about that. Season 4, Episode 8, November 9th, 1990. Shape Up. DJ Tanner develops disordered eating before Kimmy's pool party. She's surviving on ice cubes. Her younger sister Stephanie catches her in the act, and DJ makes her swear to keep it secret through a pinky promise. For anyone who had siblings growing up, you know the weight of a pinky promise. That's sacred ground. But after DJ collapses at the gym, Stephanie has to break that promise to save her sister's life.
Deej, hang on a minute.
I hope she's not mad at me.
What makes this particularly dark is the behind-the-scenes context. Candace Cameron Bure, who played DJ, later revealed she suffered from bulimia in real life. As one publication noted, the episode was dangerously triggering by modern standards because it required the teen actress to berate her own appearance on national television. This was a show where the biggest conflict was usually about who ate the last of the ice cream. And then suddenly we're watching a teenage girl spiral into an eating disorder, while her little sister has to choose between keeping a promise and saving a life. The Tanners hugged it out by the end, of course. But that image of DJ collapsing, that stayed with a lot of us. Number 7, The Facts of Life, the betrayal that killed a reboot. Okay, switching gears from on-screen drama to behind-the-scenes chaos. The Facts of Life ran on NBC from August 1979 to May 1988. Blair, Tootie, Natalie, Joe. For almost a decade, these 4 women were TV's most beloved found family. And for 40 years after the show ended, the cast remained close, until they didn't. In July 2024, Mindy Cohn, Natalie, went on SiriusXM's Jeff Lewis Live and dropped a bomb. After the success of the 2021 Live in Front of a Studio Audience special, Norman Lear himself approached the cast about doing a full reboot. They hired a writer. They had Zoom meetings during COVID. Things were moving. And then, according to Cohn, one of her co-stars went rogue. And her exact words, "One of the girls went behind our backs and tried to make a separate deal for a spin-off just for herself and devastated the rest of us." She continued, "For a 40-year friendship and sisterhood, there was a tidal wave of emotion." Cohn declared the reboot very dead and said she has no desire to ever work together again. Now, she never officially named the person responsible. But eagle-eyed observers noticed that her Instagram shows birthday posts for Kim Fields and Nancy McKeon, but none for Lisa Whelchel. When Lisa Whelchel responded in 2025, she blamed external factors: the writer's strike, the actor's strike, and the deaths of Charlotte Rae in 2018 and Norman Lear in 2023. Her quote, "We were all very, very disappointed that it didn't work." 2 very different stories. A 40-year sisterhood, potentially destroyed, and fans who grew up with these women will never get the reunion they were promised. That's dark. Number 6, Growing Pains, when Kirk Cameron found God and lost his TV family. Growing Pains ran on ABC from September 1985 to April 1992. Kirk Cameron played Mike Seaver, the lovable troublemaker, while Tracy Gold played his overachieving sister Carol, and Jeremy Miller played youngest brother Ben. For the first few seasons, everything was fine. Great, actually. The show was a hit. Then, in 1988, 17-year-old Kirk Cameron became a born-again Christian, and that's when things got complicated. The most documented conflict involves Julie McCullough, who played Mike's love interest Julie Costello for 8 episodes in Season 4. She was abruptly fired at the start of Season 5. According to True Hollywood Story, Cameron allegedly demanded her firing because she had posed in Playboy back in February 1986, reportedly calling producers pornographers. Now, Cameron denied this in his 2008 memoir, Still Growing. His exact words, "Contrary to popular gossip, I had nothing to do with the firing of Julie McCullough as my TV girlfriend because she posed for Playboy magazine." The showrunner, Dan Gunselman, backed him up, saying Julie was let go because Mike being in a committed relationship was a creative dead end. But McCullough had her own take. "He thinks if I read science books that I'm going to hell. I am at peace with God." Whatever the truth, the behind-the-scenes tension was real. Executive producers Marshall, Gunselman, and Sullivan, along with co-executive producer David Kendall and director John Tracy, all quit the series following Season 6 due to creative clashes with Cameron. And here's the detail that really stings. Cameron did not invite any of his cast members to his 1991 wedding. When asked about it later, Tracy Gold explained she didn't invite Cameron to her wedding either, because if I invited him, he probably wouldn't have come. Kirk had drifted away from the show. Cameron didn't speak to Gold for 8 years after the series ended. In 2000, Cameron reflected on this with some regret. I definitely kind of made an about face. I shifted my focus from 100% on the show to 100% on my new life, and left 0% on the show, and even the friendships. Even decades later, the Seaver siblings can't get on the same page. Number 5. Boy Meets World, The Ghosting, Nobody Can Explain. This one might be the most mysterious entry on our list. Boy Meets World ran on ABC from September 1993 to May 2000. Corey Matthews, Topanga, Sean Hunter, Eric Matthews, Mr. Feeney. These characters meant everything to a generation of kids, and the cast seemed genuinely close. When the show ended, they stayed in touch. When Girl Meets World happened from 2014 to 2017, they were all there. Ben Savage, who played Corey, was supportive when his co-star Danielle Fishel's son was in the NICU in 2019, quote, checking in with me regularly. And then, around 2020, Ben Savage just vanished. In June 2022, Fishel, Ryder Strong, and Will Friedle launched a podcast called Pod Meets World. Savage declined to participate, but initially gave his blessing. Then he stopped responding to anyone. In June 2023, the cast addressed this publicly in a Variety interview, and their quotes are heartbreaking. He just kind of disappeared from our lives. We were just so close, especially during that time. He was checking in with me regularly. He ghosted us. Will Friedle, who played Corey's older brother Eric. He disappeared. I wish I knew why, to this day. We didn't have a fight. There's no falling out. There was no animosity. He just woke up one day and decided I don't want this person in my life anymore. Friedle described his attempts to reach out. I finally sent a text saying, I've known you for 30 years. What's going on? I said, I'm going to call you every day until you tell me not to call you anymore. That lasted about 3 weeks or a month, every single day. Nothing. In February 2025, on an episode of Pod Meets World, Friedle said, Ben is one of the most important people I've ever met in my life, and I can't hate the fact that he won't speak to us. Some have speculated that Savage's 2023 congressional run, he lost the Democratic primary with 4% of the vote, led him to distance himself. Ryder Strong noted they didn't agree on much politically growing up, but Ben Savage has never publicly commented on any of this. 30 years of friendship, and nobody knows why it ended. Number 4. Seventh Heaven, The Exile of Mary Camden. Back to on-screen darkness, and this one has layers. Seventh Heaven ran from 1996 to 2007, making it one of the longest-running family dramas in television history. The Camden family was the gold standard of wholesome TV, a minister father, a loving mother, and 7 kids navigating life's challenges with faith and family values. And then there was Mary. Mary Camden, played by Jessica Biel, was the golden child, the basketball star, the responsible oldest daughter, until season 4, when everything fell apart. After an injury ends her basketball career, Mary spirals. She drinks alcohol and passes out while babysitting. She leads her basketball team in vandalizing the school gymnasium. She faces criminal charges and probation. She lies compulsively to her family. She accumulates credit card debt so severe that her siblings have to break open the twins' piggy banks to help pay her bills. She spends days watching movies instead of looking for a job. In the 2-part episode, Bye, which aired November 13th, 2000, the family makes a devastating decision. They send Mary to live with her militaristic grandfather in Buffalo as punishment.
What are you talking about?
We're talking about winter in Buffalo. That's what we're talking about.
Television Without Pity recappers dubbed Buffalo the nightmarish place you go to pay for your sins. And here's the thing. Mary's character is never truly redeemed throughout the remainder of the series. When by aired, Seventh Heaven achieved a Nielsen rating of 6.8, representing 10.4 million viewers. That was the show's highest rating in 2.5 years. People tuned in to watch Mary get punished. Now, here's where it gets interesting. According to Entertainment Weekly and multiple retrospective articles, Jessica Biel had done a semi-nude photo shoot in Gear magazine in 1999, which angered the show's producers. Critics have noted that after this real-life incident, Mary's character was deliberately written as increasingly irresponsible, what TV Tropes calls flanderized. The interpretation? The writers were punishing their teenage star for the choices she made with her own body. Whether that's true or not, watching the Camden family essentially exile their daughter remains one of the darkest arcs in family television history. Number 3. Roseanne, the tweet that ended everything. Roseanne Barr and Sarah Gilbert weren't playing siblings. Gilbert played Barr's daughter, Darlene Connor, on the original Roseanne, which ran from October 1988 to May 1997. But the mother-daughter dynamic on screen and what happened off-screen fits perfectly into what we're exploring today. For years, Barr and Gilbert were close. When ABC announced a Roseanne revival in 2018, Gilbert signed on as an executive producer. The revival premiered in March 2018 to massive ratings. Then, on May 29, 2018, Barr posted a racist tweet comparing former Obama advisor Valerie Jarrett to Muslim Brotherhood and Planet of the Apes. ABC canceled the revival the same day. Gilbert tweeted, "Roseanne's recent comments about Valerie Jarrett and so much more are abhorrent and do not reflect the beliefs of our cast and crew." And that's when the feud began. In May 2023, on the Megyn Kelly Show on Sirius XM, Barr went scorched earth. It was her tweet that canceled the show. She destroyed the show and my life with that tweet. And, in a particularly vivid turn of phrase, she will never get enough until she consumes my liver with a fine Chianti. Barr claimed Gilbert had previously promised to protect her. She begged me to come back, saying, "I've got your back. This time I won't let anyone at you. I know you have mental health problems, but I'm gonna be there." Barr also revealed she called Gilbert directly. "You better shut your blanking mouth about me. I'm telling you, you better shut your effing mouth." And she did. Gilbert's response, from a 2019 Washington Post interview, was more measured. "While I'm extremely disappointed and heartbroken over the dissolution of the original show, she will always be family. And I will always love Roseanne." Barr signed away her rights to allow the Connors to continue without her. Gilbert became executive producer of that show. They no longer speak. Number 2. Party of Five, the intervention that broke everyone. Party of Five ran on Fox from September 1994 to May 2000. The premise was devastating from the start. 5 siblings, Charlie, Bailey, Julia, Claudia, and baby Owen, lose both their parents to a drunk driver and have to raise themselves. For 6 seasons, this show did not pull punches. But Season 3, Episode 20, The Intervention, might be the darkest thing network television aired in the 90s. It has a 9.5 rating on IMDb, the highest rated episode of the entire series. Here's the setup. Bailey, played by Scott Wolf, has developed a serious drinking problem. His siblings stage an intervention, and when confronted, Bailey doesn't break down and accept help. He attacks. He viciously goes after each family member's deepest vulnerabilities. He reveals Charlie's history of infidelity to his girlfriend Grace. He brings up Julia's pregnancy. He attacks his girlfriend Sarah about their failed sexual relationship. And then comes the darkest revelation of all. Family friend Joe Mangus reveals that their deceased father, the man whose death started this whole story, was also an alcoholic for 18 years.
It's like, take a hint. I don't love you. To be, like, completely honest here, I don't think I was ever in love with you.
Don't do this, Bailey.
I mean,
Claudia's idealized childhood memories shatter in real time. The episode ends with Bailey rejecting the intervention completely. He walks away from 11-year-old Claudia, his baby sister who loves him more than anything, and chooses alcohol over her. In a 2017 TV Line retrospective, Scott Wolf reflected on filming that scene. I almost get emotional talking about it. Nothing could have demonstrated the power of addiction more than Bailey turning and walking away from Claudia and deciding I'd rather have a drink than have her wanting to be with me. It was a devastating moment for all of us. Shooting that scene was heartbreaking. Wolf revealed he burst into tears after 4 takes because he felt he hadn't captured the scene properly. Producer Christopher Keyser explained their philosophy to Vulture. I think what makes something feel preachy is to say that we have an intervention in episode 20, and at the end of it, he says, "You're right, guys. I should stop drinking." The Buffalo News in 1997 called Wolf's performance Emmy nomination worthy. This wasn't a very special episode. This was a gut punch that respected its audience enough to not wrap things up neatly. And for a show about siblings, watching one of them choose destruction over family remains almost unwatchable. Number 1, Diff'rent Strokes, the show that had it all and lost everything. We started with Diff'rent Strokes, and we're ending with it. Because no show on this list embodies the darkness hiding beneath 80s sitcoms quite like this one. Diff'rent Strokes ran on NBC from 1978 to 1985, then moved to ABC for its final season in 1986. Gary Coleman played Arnold Jackson. Todd Bridges played his older brother Willis. Dana Plato played their adoptive sister Kimberly. Let's start with what happened between the cameras. In his 2010 memoir, Killing Willis, From Diff'rent Strokes to the Mean Streets to the Life I Always Wanted, Todd Bridges documented a physical confrontation with Gary Coleman that occurred around season 3 or 4, approximately 1981 to 1982. According to Bridges, Coleman's father, Willie, promoted his son as the star and discouraged him from associating with other cast members. Tensions built until one day, in Bridges' words, he didn't have a comeback for that, so he slapped me. My cheeks stung where he had hit me. I slapped him back. Bridges alleges Willie Coleman tried to have him fired after the incident. Bridges was removed from approximately 4 episodes that season as punishment and claims he was cut from the final 2 episodes entirely. His reflection: "This was the place I loved more than anywhere else in the world, and he was ruining it." The two stopped speaking off camera for the remainder of the show's 8-season run. They made up approximately 10 years after the on-set drama and remained in touch until Coleman's death on May 28, 2010, at age 42, from a brain hemorrhage. Bridges' statement at the time, "I am deeply saddened by Gary's death. May God give him peace." As of 2024, a Peacock documentary called Gary features new interviews with Bridges discussing the exploitative environment Coleman faced. Bridges is now sober for over 31 years. He's also the only surviving original child cast member. Dana Plato died May 8, 1999. A drug overdose ruled a suicide. She was 34 years old. But we're not done. Because Diff'rent Strokes also gave us what might be the darkest on-screen storyline in sitcom history. Season 5, Episodes 16 and 17. The Bicycle Man. Air dates, February 5th and 12th, 1983. The premise: a bicycle shop owner named Mr. Horton, played by Gordon Jump, who you might know as the lovable Mr. Carlson from WKRP in Cincinnati, befriends Arnold and his friend Dudley. He shows them cartoon pornography. He gives them alcohol. He attempts to molest them. Willis becomes suspicious and ultimately helps expose the predator. This was a sitcom, with a laugh track, dealing with child molestation. Conrad Bain, who played Mr. Drummond, recorded a parental warning before Part 2 aired. The New York Times in 1983 praised it as written skillfully and directed sensitively. Mental Floss ranked it number 1 on their Best Very Special Episodes list. Bill Simmons wrote, I can't imagine any sitcom ever went to a darker place. And here's the detail that makes this even harder to process. Todd Bridges has stated that filming was a very hard week because he himself had been sexually abused by his publicist during his time on Diff'rent Strokes. He revealed this in the 2014 documentary, An Open Secret. So while Arnold and Willis were dealing with a fictional predator on screen, one of the actors playing those brothers was living through the real thing behind the scenes. The Bicycle Man is credited with launching the entire very special episode phenomenon that dominated 80s sitcoms. It changed television. But it also serves as a reminder that the darkness in these shows wasn't always fiction. Conclusion. So there you have it. 9 sibling rivalries from 80s and 90s television that went places none of us expected when we were kids sitting in front of the TV after school. We saw on-screen storylines that tackled addiction, eating disorders, child abuse, and family exile. We saw behind-the-scenes conflicts that ended friendships, destroyed reboots, and left cast members estranged for decades. What strikes me most is how these shows reflected something real about family dynamics. Siblings fight. Sometimes they make up. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes the wounds run so deep that 30 years later, someone's still making daily phone calls that never get answered. The 80s and 90s sold us the fantasy that every problem could be solved in 22 minutes with a hug and a life lesson. But buried in these shows, in the scripts and behind the cameras, was something messier, something more honest, something that acknowledged that family can be both the greatest source of love and the deepest source of pain. Maybe that's why we're still talking about these shows decades later. Not just for the nostalgia, but because they showed us truths we're still processing. All right, that's all for today. If this video brought back some memories, good, bad, or complicated, let me know in the comments which of these surprised you the most. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe. We've got plenty more deep dives into the shows that shaped us coming your way.